whole world changed overnight.
We wouldn't be where we are today without Bill Shankly.
He started the very notion of what Liverpool is today, of how we are together and the fans feel part of the club and we all are one.
Respect, it doesn't come close, but people idolise them, still do.
It was Bill Shankly who established the holy trinity between manager, players and supporters. His ethos has become the club's ethos.
The DNA that he created when he arrived in '59 runs through the club today.
I've held his name and his ways in my heart all my life. I just love the man. Legend.
We were kind of languishing in the second division, kind of mired, well and truly mired in the second division, and quite a poor team as well. And then suddenly my granddad comes in, and everything changed. So he had this vision, and he stopped at nothing. He wanted everything to change. Anfield, Melwood, the training, and a lot of that he brought with him is still in place today.
People said he was a perfect fit for Liverpool. You know, he understood the Scouse mentality. They loved him, his attitude, his politics, everything about him. And of course, that's an aside to what he's doing with our football club. He wanted to be in charge. By and large, he was in charge. I mean, he guided the club, and nobody could argue with what he did, and people tried.
It's amazing the foundations that he built, because when he came to Liverpool, Melwood was just a shed, so was Anfield, it was dilapidated, and he said, how can you expect the team that I want to play and be successful here to build it into the bastion of invincibility with worn out and outdated accommodation. And it was him really who laid those physical foundations, and that's what's led to everything that we've got today.
When he came to Liverpool, obviously the reason why he came was because of the fans. It wasn't, the team. It wasn't the facilities. It wasn't the salary or anything like that. It was because he saw something in the fans that he connected with completely. It was like, they were funny, they were knowledgeable, they were very fair and respectful towards their opponents, and I think he just loved that passion. So that was the connection. They meant everything to him.
The fans adored him, and he loved the fans. And in our talks, it was always, you're doing this for the football club, and you're doing it for me, and you're doing it for yourselves, but you're also doing it for the fans. Yeah, so don't forget it.
He always loved the fans more than the players. The spare tickets, he'd give them to the fans for nothing, rather than give them to us. And I think it's the best thing that ever happened to Liverpool.
He'd take pity on kids who were standing outside with no tickets, and what are you doing out here, son? There's pictures in a lot of books of him in his house in Belfield Road, and clusters of kids in there just turned up and being invited in for a cup of tea, and you can imagine doing that now. I mean, I know where Jurgen lives in Formby. I wouldn't go around and knock on his door now.
He made the players recognise that being part of Liverpool was an important job. It wasn't a job that you just took home and forgot about when you went home. It was something that you lived. And when you see some of those players now, they are still living the Liverpool way.
He was a smart man. His shoes were always immaculate. He always had a tie on, and he had pride in himself. So he tried to instill that to all the players.
This time we were on the train, and the inspector come, said, "Mr. Shankly's down the corridor." And we all come running down to him, and sat next to him. And I was on the train for 3 hours. It was like 40 young kids. We were only like 16, 17, whatever. And And he held court and he just tells all the stories, and he told us to behave. He said, "Oh, we will, Mr. Shankly," and you're representing Liverpool, the city, and things like that stuck with us for years to come.
People suddenly felt part of the club rather than paying customers, which is what they were previously. I say, goodness knows what would have happened to this club if we hadn't found Shankly.
He was born in a small mining village, 10 brothers and sisters all together. You couldn't be selfish in a family of 10 with hardly any food, or you had to think about everybody else. You couldn't just think about yourself. So that was, I suppose, the first team, if you like, that he was part of, and then the wider environment of Glenbook as a mining village. And I think that ethos all stems from there, and obviously his mum was very special to him, and his dad, but I think his mum more so, because she was a very kind woman, a very generous woman. So these are all things that fed his philosophy of life. You've got to help of other people, you can't just think about yourself.
He was the heart of what we've become now, and he basically created the very notion of what Liverpool is. So you can't really have Liverpool without Bill Shankly.
You see, all the success that we have as a football club is absolutely built on the principles, the solid structure and the solid infrastructure that Shankly built. He was a visionary, and we're reaping those benefits now.
He lives not just in Liverpool's football club, but the city as well. I think without him, maybe the political stance of the city isn't what it is. He made everybody realise that by working together, you've got a better chance of succeeding. And I think, since his death, particularly that sense of togetherness has grown, and it continues to grow.
We'd probably been a bit of a middle-ranking club in the middle part of the 20th century up until he arrived in 1959. But suddenly he gave us the belief to say we can be the best in the world.
We had a couple of seasons to come in second or third in the second division to just nearly get his promotion. And he's talking about getting Liverpool into Europe, and everybody's falling about laughing. Suddenly we were far too good for the second division. It was quite obvious that we were going to win the league and head on up, and so it was. A couple of years later we're winning the league, and then late '64 we're playing in the European Cup. This was a whole new world, literally a whole new world. And then winning the FA Cup for the first time, which was the holy grail amongst Liverpool supporters. I think he'd be really thrilled to think what's going on amongst the Liverpool supporters now in his name.
So when we all got together in the stand for the very first meeting and the spirit of Shankly was born, there was no hesitation really that Shankly's name should be involved in the naming of the union, and spirit of Shankly, it couldn't be more apt.
It was a pretty obvious and open goal that we'd sort of adopt the Shankly approach. He was all about the supporters. We basically sort of said that the supporters were so important to the club. So to adopt sort of his name and his spirit, spirit of Shankly, that's exactly what the supporters should be about and what we are about.
We're there to keep that going, to keep that legacy going, and also there's somewhere that people can come to ask if they need anything, like if we can help them, we will. And I think that all comes from what he brought to the club and what he infused within it. And I think in everybody that supports it.
We try to impose it, his values, it's like, we're here for, to help, not just on the football ground, it's outside the football ground, whether it's with the food banks, what's going on, the charities that we help out. It's just these ethos that we try and keep with this union that we have.
He'd be absolutely thrilled, you know, to be named the Spirit of Shankly. He would be, yeah. Oh, he'd be absolutely thrilled. He would be, yeah.
Thanks everyone. Welcome. Okay, so we move straight into item 3 then, Shankly Cup. Steve, you're going to give us an update on that?
Yeah, when we come back from Glenbook a couple of months ago, speaking to the local dignitaries from the East Ayrshire Council, it was obvious that they wanted to keep in contact with the Spirit of Shankly and the people of Liverpool. A few months ago we were invited to Spirit of Shankly, we were invited up to Glenbook in Scotland. It's the home of Bill Shankly. East Ayrshire Council have regenerated the actual birthplace of it, and it's, you know, where the man community lived, you know, and it's absolutely amazing what they've done. And from them, when we come home, we kicked on, we wanted to keep contact with the East Ayrshire, you know, because now we think we've got a bond with them, and we just come up with an idea for the Spirit of Shankly Cup.
He was about grassroots football. He loved Glenbook, he played up there. We've been to visit it, it's a wonderful place to see. We're trying to join the dots between the two places in terms of Liverpool and Glenbook. By doing this with young people, we're hoping that what that will do is not only give them an opportunity to play football, which is what we want them to do, but actually to understand what the legacy is of Shankly. It was all about being for the people, and we hope that this tournament that we'll have for the first time next year will be something that will kickstart a greater linkage between Liverpool and Glenbook.
That for me is brilliant because it is about getting the youth involved, and it's something that's the area where he lived and was born and grew up, and so that's a brilliant initiative to celebrate the 60 years, but also just going forward, something that we could do every year.
Bill Shankly would want us to make sure that the young people who will come from areas such as this actually enjoy and have the opportunity to think, this guy came from a very poor background and made what he did. Maybe there's an opportunity for me as well. Even
when he retired, he didn't even consider moving away. That wasn't an option that he considered. He was going to stay. He loved Liverpool. He loved the people of Liverpool. And after his retirement, especially, they showed such outpourings of love. Thousands of people sent him letters. Please don't resign. There was even a little group set up called Save Our Shanks, because people didn't want him to resign. People were just heartbroken. Somebody told me the other day that an announcement was made in St John's Market that he'd retired, and people just stopped in their tracks and they couldn't believe it. And that just shows you how much they thought of him. And it was definitely mutual. They loved him and he absolutely loved them.
God, he was the greatest icon, you know, this football club's ever had. As I've said, you know, without him, I don't know where the football club would be today, because where it is today, worldwide football club, he was the foundation, without a single doubt.
You just can't underestimate how much he meant and changed this club, and how strong we are because of what he did.
Everybody who stands on the Kop, particularly local people, take his beliefs to every game with them, and you know, I think that's the one thing that the current manager has done. You know, the idea of never giving up and sticking together, that's a big thing that has been so positive about Liverpool over the last few seasons. People say about Jurgen Klopp, you know, is he the next Shankly? I think he's a different sort of character, but they've got certain things which are very similar. You know, they both believe in the collective work of everybody working together, and if you've got that, you've got just a much better chance of winning.
He delivered. He was such a great leader. He didn't just have the charisma that leaders often have. He had the self-belief to actually put things into place, and I mentioned the infrastructure he's put here, the legacy he's left behind. You know, we're here in 2019, 60 years after he came, we're still talking about him because we still live what he put in place for us.
He's such an iconic person, and you don't see that often about people in life, but Bill Shankly, what he done for the city of Liverpool, and you know, it's amazing, you know.
Even though we've had great managers after him, he will always be the one for me who has made us into what we are.